starting right now, and delighted to have you with us here. Hope you're enjoying a little 3-day weekend, and we have a lot in the hopper. Sam Ponder is back. It is nice to see you again. The crew is collected, and we're ready to go. We're going to get you to Jalen Hurts in just a second. But first, quick weekend takeaways from each of you, something you saw over the weekend that stood out. Dan.
Well, I have to start with Jalen Hurts. The transfer quarterbacks in college football, the portal proved them to be the right choice. He had a monster evening last night. Justin Fields for Ohio State coming over from Georgia. 4 touchdowns in the first 8 minutes of his game Saturday morning. A huge performance. And then Jacob Eason, again, a guy from Georgia going back home to Washington. Monster numbers. The transfer portal for quarterbacks treated them right.
Graziano, takeaway.
Green, look at these running back holdouts. You mentioned Ezekiel Elliott. We're also watching Melvin Gordon with the Chargers. They seem to be moving in different directions this weekend. Elliott talking to the Cowboys after about a month without any real conversation, and the Chargers playing hardball with Melvin Gordon moving further away from him in terms of looking like they want to get a deal done.
Damian Woody, big weekend takeaway.
Yeah, how about Deshaun Watson getting a new left tackle and Laramie Tunsil? This is a guy who, over the past couple years, and Deshaun Watson's been sacked 81 times. That's been one of the sticking points with Deshaun Watson is his health. Now you get a new one of the best young left tackles in the game. Should help his game tremendously.
All right, it was a big weekend, and we'll get to all of those. But let us get you to what last night brought us. It's Oklahoma and Houston, and it's Jalen Hurts, the transfer. As you mentioned, opening drive, and watch Hurts here. Okay, this is his first drive in a Sooners uniform, and it ends with this little touchdown pass to Jeremiah Hall.
Great little play call by Lincoln Riley. A little play action, get somebody out in space, blockers out in front. Beautiful play.
Second quarter now, and it's Hurts, and he's back to throw. And you're going to have to explain to me how CeeDee Lamb winds up this open. We'll give you a second look at it, but either way, Hurts drops in a beautiful ball for a 45-yard touchdown.
And you love to see him look like a quarterback, right? He climbs the pocket. You see CeeDee Lamb on the outside. The safety jumps. The inside route, he's wide open. Credit Jalen Hurts for keeping his eyes downfield.
Oklahoma up 21-0. It's a 21-7 game when Hurts goes back to throw. And this, we knew from his days in Alabama, he can tuck it and run.
I cannot wait. We're going to get into this play a little bit more later and breaking it down. This is Lincoln Riley at a next-level creativity. 45-yard gain and using a little bit of a PRO.
16 rushes for 176 yards for Hurts, and he wasn't done yet. Third quarter, Oklahoma up, and Charleston Rambo is off to the races.
And another reminder, Oklahoma has really, really good players. Rambo, CeeDee Lamb, Calcaterra. This offense is going to be equally as explosive as last year.
And it's led by this guy. Here goes Jalen Hurts taking it in. Let me give you the numbers. He threw for 332 yards. He ran for 176 and accounted for 6 total touchdowns. 3 on the ground, 3 through the air. What a debut for Jalen Hurts.
How would you describe your journey to right now?
Unprecedented, kind of like a movie.
Describing his journey, yeah, it's hard. You know, probably be a pretty good movie someday. You know, it's it's pretty remarkable, especially in this day and age. It's pretty remarkable. So hopefully a lot yet to be written.
All right, so over the past 15 seasons, there's been over 1,000 instances of players throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. 500 or so instances of players rushing for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. But only twice has anyone done both in the same game. Johnny Manziel in 2012, and that man, Jalen Hurts, did it last night. And I've got the 3 of you here specifically for a reason. And Sam, quickly, I will start with you. You covered this kid at Alabama. And we saw what he did there, but this was entirely different. Were you as taken aback as I was by the way he threw the football last night?
I'm excited for him because he's in a position again where he gets to kind of play the same role that Baker Mayfield did in terms of getting to play with a chip on your shoulder, with a little bit of underdog role. We talked about it this morning, Dan. The knock on him was, can this guy throw? We didn't see him throw well enough at Bama. Well, at OU, he's going to get the chance to prove it, just like Baker did. Yes, we know he can use his legs, but this is a guy who now 1 year of essentially a tryout for the NFL to show he can throw and sling that ball around, and last night he did just that, Dan.
That was my biggest takeaway. If you had to ask me one thing, he looked like a more complete quarterback. He didn't just look like an athlete who could potentially throw. You watched a coach understand what his skill set was and put him in positions to play really well, quarterback runs and whatnot. But he looked like a complete just the first touchdown pass of a little movement with him. Let's get him out of the pocket. Quick, easy throw. Because this was a big start for him as well. Like, there was a lot of pressure and hype built up to this, and he handled it so well, no matter what stage he had been on previously. But just the comfort level that he played with. And I want to say this. There's a reason that if you come out of high school football as an 18 or 17, 18-year-old and you don't look like Dan Marino, we automatically say you can't throw. We no longer allow for a maturation from the 18 to 22-year-olds of age to get better as a thrower. We watched him get better and better at Alabama. And now, last night, we watched him become – that was his best throwing performance we've ever seen from him.
Well, I mean, look at those numbers. They're on the screen. It's
Kyler Murray never did that. And I love Kyler Murray. He never did that.
I told you, only Johnny Manziel has done it in college football in the last 15 years. So let me turn to you, Dan, on the coach, because a lot of conversation now will be about the quarterback. But he's had back-to-back Heisman winners, and so far so good on Jalen Hurts. Is the NFL salivating over Lincoln Riley?
Lincoln Riley is a person of significant interest to NFL teams that are looking for coaches. This past offseason, he was of interest. He didn't seem to reciprocate that interest. But if he ever does, there will be teams lining up to interview him. Think about this. We're talking about Jalen Hurts transferring from Alabama and possibly what? Off of this, if he keeps playing like this, you're talking about a Heisman Trophy candidate. The last two Oklahoma starters won the Heisman Trophy and got picked first overall in the draft. If he pulls that off again or even close to it, how are you not going to be scrambling to find a way to get this guy into your building, find out what makes him tick, what drives his creativity, and how he gets the most out of all these guys?
And the person that everyone will be looking at is Jerry Jones, right? If things don't go well in Dallas this year, that is the first place to look.
If Dallas contends for the Super Bowl, wins a couple playoff games, Jason Garrett probably stays there. But if something happens and it doesn't work out for Jason Garrett in Dallas, then yes, we will be sitting here in December and January talking about Lincoln Riley and the Cowboys pretty much every single day.
Yeah, but two things for me that do factor into this. One, he fits a college coach mode to me. Like, if they win the national championship this year, then it's a different conversation. But I honestly believe he wants to win a national title in college football. And the second thing is this. Yes, the NFL dollars can come, but Oklahoma's got money too, and they can pay him a ton of money as well.
You know what will help him this year? If he does want to go to the next level and coach in the NFL, if Cliff Kingsbury does well in Arizona, or even just a little better than they were last year and gives some hope for these type of coaches, not saying they're exactly the same, that's going to help him out.
I wonder, it'll be an interesting test case, because I have long believed that in basketball, being a college coach eclipses being a pro coach. You're better off coaching in college than in the pros. It used to be the difference of money in the NFL from college football. I'm not sure that is anymore. I'm not sure Lincoln Riley is better off coach of the Cowboys than he is right where he is. Either way, we'll have more on that as we go, but we need to get to the Cowboys, because after last Thursday's Jerry Jones said he was operating as if Ezekiel Elliott was all of Friday talking about the Cowboys playing without Zeke. And then over the weekend, Adam Schefter reported that talks between Elliott and the Cowboys were intensifying. So when one day we went from they're going to open the season without him to there's a very good chance now they'll have him in week one. And you take a look there, you look at the Cowboys, they cut almost all of their running backs on the roster when they went to the cut down the other day, which some people interpreted as another sign. Only Alfred Morris and Tony Pollard are there. So we'll see, Sam, if that means Ezekiel Elliott gets signed today or sometime soon.
Yeah, Greeny, let's get to Dan on that. Where do we stand as of this morning?
They were talking on the weekend, and that is significant because they really hadn't had any substantive talks on this contract since training camp opened. So you're talking about a month or more. So the fact that they're talking is good. It's a complicated deal. So they can't just say, oh, we're going to get you to Todd Gurley level plus. There's discussions to be had about the guarantee structure, when it pays out, how that compares to the other top running backs. Todd Gurley got a $21 million signing bonus and $45 million in injury guarantees at the time of his contract. So Ezekiel Elliott's eyeing that as well. He's a player that's been suspended. He's a player that was nearly suspended this past summer, had to go to the commissioner's office and talk something through. So to guarantee him a huge signing bonus, that may not be exactly what the Cowboys want to do. And if that's a sticking point, this thing could continue to drag on.
So do you think that's the case? Do you think that some of the off-field stuff is really the hitch here, that that's what's holding this deal up at this point in the game?
along with the fact that running back deals are tough to do anyway because of the nature of the position. We don't see teams wanting to guarantee big money, big years to running back. Gurley is an exception. David Johnson in Arizona, a little bit of an exception. So factor that in, and factor in the fact that, yes, this is a player with a history of not always being all the way available for the team. So you have to protect yourself to a certain degree if you were the team. I think they're willing to make him the highest paid running back. At the end of the day, the question is, what does the contract look like, and can it be one that makes him happy, make him feel respected, say, I got the best running back deal ever, which is what he set out to do at the start of this process.
Do you think he starts week 1?
I'll stick with it. That's been my prediction all along throughout this.
It's okay to change.
I'm back here on Wednesday. Ask me again Wednesday.
Okay,
Things could look a
will.
lot different, but because this is a critical time right now. They could do this deal today.
Yeah.
They could do it tonight. They could do it tomorrow. They practice today. They're off tomorrow, but then the real practice for the week starts Wednesday. If he's not there by then, we have to think about him missing week 1.
We can talk about all the off-field stuff, but we've seen in the NFL before. The off-the-field stuff, in most cases, isn't going to keep you from getting your deal, especially when, like Zeke Elliott, Greeny, he makes up 36% of their offense.
Yeah, he's that important of a player. I've said it repeatedly. He is the difference between the Cowboys being a Super Bowl team and maybe not even being a playoff team. But let's talk about availability. If he signs Damien Woody in the next day or two, if he is back in time for the install of the offense on Wednesday, are you comfortable with him walking in the door and saying, okay, he can touch the ball 30, 35 times that fast and be the regular Zeke Elliott we're accustomed to?
No, I don't know if I would give him the full workload, because you got to remember this. While Zeke is out in Cabo, there's no way of simulating the training camp that most of the other guys go through. Usually what you usually get scared of is guys come back in from missing all the training camp, and then that's when they get the soft tissue, type of injuries, and that will be the fear for Ezekiel Elliott. Would I be cool with him getting 15, 20 touches? Absolutely. But to give him the full workload, I think you were putting him at jeopardy for an injury.
Well, there's a couple things. One, you making the point of by Wednesday, Max, because that's when teams right now as coordinators are constructing game plans, right? And so if you're sitting here today, Kellen Moore, who's their new offensive coordinator, never called plays in the NFL. There is going to be a little bit of a new system, right? There are going to be some different calls, different rules that Zeke has to abide by or play by. Where is he on those? So as an offensive coordinator, you're building a game plan on Monday thinking Ezekiel Elliott's going to be here. So now I've got everything at my disposal. And then by Wednesday, if he's not there, you kind of need to construct a backup game plan, thinking, okay, if Zeke's not here, I need to be way more diversified. It's almost like the Three Little Pigs, right? Like, you can build a game plan out of hay, that's without Zeke, and that's going to get blown over real quick. Or you can build a game plan out of brick, and that's with Zeke, and that can withstand a lot of stuff in week 1 or week 2. So the challenge for Kellen Moore is having the ability to build 2 game plans in 1 week, the first time you've ever done that.
I think that is an important reminder that you say to yourself, well, Zeke has been there for years. He doesn't need to learn the offense. It is a new offense.
There's going to be new to it, yes.
And so I think the time that he has missed should wind up being, or potentially will wind up being, significant regardless of whether he gets in by Wednesday or not. That's one of the 2 huge running back holdouts. Sam, let's get to the other.